All right, we're going to continue with our media availabilities here at Dover International Speedway in advance of Sunday's Apache Warrior 400, presented by Lucas Oil. We are joined by Danica Patrick, driver of the number 10 Ford Warriors in pink car. She is running a special paint scheme this weekend and next weekend as Sunday kicks off Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This marks 23 years for Ford with the Ford Warriors in Pink program. They've donated over $133 million to the cause during that time. Danica, why don't you just talk a little bit about the program and what it means to be running this paint scheme here for the next 2 weekends as we start off this month?
Yeah, I have been a part of Breast Cancer Awareness Month for many years, and it's an honor. And I've also been able to meet a lot of survivors. And just a couple weeks ago, or just last week, yeah, it was last week. Time flies. I was in Chicago driving survivors around, and I got a chance to look at their bios before I went, and yeah, it makes you feel pretty small again. So these women have struggled through a lot, and some of them have gone through it more than once. So it was a good day. They were all very excited. There was some people were screaming. Actually, one lady, when I stopped, I said, "Were you screaming every time I went into the corner?" And she said, "Yes. Did you hear me?" Yes. So it was a great day, but proud to represent this program and be a part of its really, really long history and incredible donations.
Great. We will open it up to questions for Danica. We'll start here with Lee.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Tony Stewart came out. He was really supportive of what you have done and what you meant to the company. What has he meant to your career in particular?
Well, as pretty much as long as I've been in NASCAR, he's been a part of it. Even as early as my part-time NASCAR with Junior Motorsports, and then in the transition to full-time. The plans were in the works to go to his team for basically almost the entire time. So he's been a part of it all. So yeah, pretty much my entire existence in NASCAR has had to do with him, indirectly or directly. So I'm grateful.
Has he been an influence as far as helping you to get up to speed in NASCAR from that standpoint as well?
He's an encourager, but I don't think he would claim that he's a driving coach or setting up the cars or anything like that. So no, I think that there have been others that have given me more help as far as driving goes. And not everyone can teach, and not everyone can, so everybody has their abilities, but I can't be taught anything in NASCAR if I'm not here, and he's the reason, a very big reason why I'm here.
We'll go to Bob.
Bob Hocker, ESPN. With what's going on in other sports in relation to the
what's
national
going
anthem. Have you guys had any meetings at Stewart Haas, or would you anticipate any meetings before Sunday on what to do during the anthem?
No, as you can imagine, I probably haven't been at many meetings at Stewart Haas lately. So no, the extent of it is talking points. But other than that, I think as far as individuals go, we aren't obligated to say anything in particular.
For you being a woman in a sport, I know you don't want this to be your last season, but if it is, do you look back at, as you look back at the legacy, a lot of women up and coming in short track racing in recent years are crediting a lot of their success to you, such as Julia Landauer and Macy Causey and so many others. What are your thoughts on that and what you leave behind in this sport if this is your last season?
Well, that's an honor. But at the end of the day, just as I have had to do, and as anyone that comes after me will have to do, they'll have to prove themselves. And they will have to bring a lot to the table. And they will have to work really hard. Nothing that anyone after me brings will be just simple and easy. It's going to be work, just as it's work for every guy too. You have to also be lucky. You have to catch the right moment with the right ride, the right sponsor. But when the opportunity presents itself, you need to be ready.
Any additional questions for Danica? We'll go here to Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I apologize if this has already been asked because I was doing a different interview, but I wonder if you feel that looking at you when you started and now you're talking about other people coming in and facing the same thing, that you've been very tough, that there's talented young women drivers that will come in, but it takes a certain toughness that, I don't know, that's part of it no matter what what you're able to achieve, right? Have you had to be really tough to make it this far, even to the extent of where you're at?
Yeah, and there's as far as in motorsports goes, there's only one other division I haven't done, so top level. So, it doesn't really go any further. And I've been extremely fortunate to be able to have that experience in IndyCar and in NASCAR. But yeah, I think that when I lived in England, I was probably hardened up a lot. I came home and I remember my parents saying that I had gotten a lot harder, and that was just because I was a very open, honest, naive, I guess is a word you could use to describe it. When you're young and you have best intentions, you assume the best of everyone. That's not necessarily the truth. So yeah, you have to harden up, and I've also been given lessons along the way about certain ways to speak to people and to portray confidence and things like that. So, things that are beneficial for the long run, but, they definitely are. I think that we all have insecurities, and, there's not everything is just black and white, and it is or isn't. So, while you want to kind of display truth and saying, I think, or, I've been, taught to be very, very certain. And, that is hard, even as decisive as a person I am with everything I do. You do have to put forth that confidence and through your words and then your actions.
We'll go to Mark and then to Lee.
Danica, Mark Schwartz, ESPN. Last week we heard Richard Childress.
You can stand up so I can see you. Thank you.
There you go. This week we heard Richard Childress and Richard Petty say what they would do to any employee who protested the anthem. To what extent do you think NASCAR drivers may be treated differently than, say, NFL or NBA players if they took a knee during the anthem, and why would that be? Well,
I don't know. Have every other sport and every other business been, surveyed as to what they would do? I think that's, if we're only using two sports as an example, then it's just one or the other. So, but, how you run your business is how you run your business. And either you sign a contract that says you're an independent contractor, or you sign one that says you're an employee. And maybe it comes down to that, or maybe it just comes down to doing your job. So, yeah, if you have to figure out what's more important to you. If you think something should be done differently and you might sacrifice your job, then that's your choice. Otherwise, it's your choice the other way, too. So, but in general, there's plenty of platforms to speak your mind. And so if it comes in interference with being able to put food on the table, or being able to do something that you love, then I think that you should probably go by the rules. There are a lot of rules in this world. I don't really drive the speed limit, but I'm supposed to, and they can give me tickets. And now, don't you think that I have I was thinking I should pull out my FIA racing license next time I get pulled over. I don't know how that'll go over, but, there are rules for everybody. And even though maybe I have a bigger comfort zone or more ability than that cop giving me the ticket, it's still a rule.
We'll go to Lee and then to Bob.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. So far, what is your proudest moment in NASCAR of what you've been able to accomplish so far? And do you think you've had the best equipment to do what you've needed to do?
I don't know. That's, the one that'll stand out will be qualifying in the pole for the Daytona 500, of course, as I think that the, the media results of that are something like winning the fourth biggest race of the year, even though it's just for qualifying. So that one will be the most, the biggest one that will stand out. But there have been lots of little races along the way that I've felt like have been much more difficult and much more representative of the hard work I put into the sport. and into myself. But those don't stand out because they weren't wins. They weren't even top fives, but you know, top tens and things like that. Some runs that I've had have meant more to me. But you know, I definitely think that, you know, pulling back a little further than just individual events is just the inspiration that you are told that you bring to people, or especially to kids. You know, that's a role that you can't buy your way into. You know, you have to earn that. So you can't just stumble onto that, I don't think, especially having been around for a long time now. People probably know my personality. So that's probably the most meaningful. And then what was the second part of your question?
Do you think you've had top of the line equipment to really stage, you know, put your best performance on the best stage?
Well, you know, do I think that I've had the best car on track with the best engine, the best? Probably not. But have I had good teams? Absolutely. Have I had good equipment? Absolutely. You know, I think that what the challenge is those last little details, and having a group of people around you that really believe that you can do it and are willing to go beyond the call of duty for the job and, you know, go the extra mile. And so my very first engineer in IndyCar, this is a reference that comes to mind. He called it the 100-hand theory, where if you stick one hand out the window, it doesn't really make a difference, but 100 does. So, you know, all those small little details that stack up to, you know, making something special that you put on the track. Now, I think that maybe that's something that hasn't always been there, but I do think I've always had good equipment for sure.
Jay Fry said he'd welcome you back to IndyCar. Do you have any interest in going back there?
No, I'm not planning on anything going back to IndyCar. But you know, never say never, as I've said for many, many years, because I'm getting so old that I know that things can change and my life changes in ways that I would never expect every couple of years. So, yeah, you just can't cross anything off the list completely.
We'll wrap up with Bob.
Bob Pocker, ESPN. In the last 2 weeks since your announcement that you wouldn't be back at Stewart-Haas, have you had many discussions about next year, and do you feel any better or worse about your chances of racing next year?
Yeah, I've had some, but not a ton. I mean, as I've said for a good while now, I let the business people in my business handle that and have those conversations and figure out what options are out there, and I continue to let them do that.
Danica, thanks for joining us today.
Okay.
Good luck on Sunday.
Thank you.